The last time I heard the term was it being applied to job switching and career shifts, but I never really heard it applied to creativity. And I think that's an interesting concept that I want to get into because I was doing my crocheting, okay? And there were things that I was doing that I learned from doing something else. And I was like, OMG, like, wow, I didn't know that was gonna link like that. So if I type in transferable skills on Google, the AI overview gives me transferable skills or abilities that can be used in many different situations. And then of course it says they can be a key part of a resume and can help you stand out to employers, which is why I said earlier, I'm used to hearing the term surrounded by, involved with, engaged with, interacting with job switching and career shifts. Now, if I type in the definition for transferable skills, it says that transferable skills are skills you can use in any job, and these skills are often called portable skills because you can bring what you learn from one job to another. You can apply these general skills to various fields, working environments, and industries. Some examples of transferable skills are communication, teamwork, critical thinking, problem solving, adaptability, data analysis, foreign language, things of that nature, which I think is very all good and dandy. But I want to talk about when it comes to creativity. And there are still some of those things that's listed, like problem solving and critical analysis, that is really good for creativity. I think those are terms, skills that it's obvious that it would transfer or be beneficial when working with your creativity, possibly if you're one that works with your creativity a lot. Before I get into what led me to thinking of the magic of transferable skills, I want to make a point to say that creativity is not just about making things up out of the blue, things that people have never seen before. It's also about taking what you learn and applying it to something else to make something new, or it's about taking what you learn and refining it and then therefore making it new. Now, listen up, people. I've never crocheted a day in my life before sometime in September 2024, okay? I didn't know what it was until about like a year ago, from September of last year. So it's crochet is a brand new thing to me.
Looks like we got a newbie doobie.
I've just recently, maybe start like the end of last year, towards like December, I've been crocheting almost every day. But that's just because right now I'm so obsessed with it. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm done. Let me find out there's something else to create. I made like as a little tangent, I made three flower bows and I was done. I was like, well, what now? I didn't know what to do with myself. I was like, who wants something? Let me make something. So now I'm on Pinterest and I find all the time, yada yada. So anyway, I'm at a point now where I started making blankets, and then I went to what is this? Cardigans. I like having the end product of the clothes. I don't necessarily like making the clothes. However, Karma, I still have patterns that I'm gonna make clothes for. I just don't think clothes are gonna be the biggest thing that I make. But moving on to the actual example, is that right now I'm currently making amigurumi. I think I'm saying that right. If I'm not, please correct me. I hope I'm saying that right and I'm not butchering it. Matter of fact, hold on. Don't even worry.
Amigurumi.
Okay. I'm gonna try to keep that in mind. Amigurumi. With that, you have to stuff it a lot of times. I made a jellyfish that I didn't have to stuff, but the ones that I'm working on now, you have to stuff. And I absolutely sucked, failed, did not understand how to stuff it correctly.
Trash, but I could tolerate it.
All the stuff was either way too heavy or I didn't have enough stuffing in them. And I don't understand. All you said was pull out the polyfill and stuff the thing. Why is it not stuffing then? In this situation of me not knowing what I'm doing with amigurumi is how my transferable skills from learning how to do my hair and different hairstyles and braiding and twisting, how that transferred to me doing crochet. So number one big thing is research. And that might sound crazy because, well, number one, if you know me, my disposition is usually leaning to, if I don't know what it is and I want to know what it is, I'm going to research it and I'm going to look at like 10 different things until I feel like I have a grasp on it. And if I still feel like I don't have a grasp on it, I'm going to continue to research it. But also the fact that, you know, we had to do research paper in high school. At least I did. And then I have my bachelor's degree and I'm working on my master's now. You do research, yeah, but and you could say that in that situation, I'm leaning on the transferable skills from school in order to apply for crochet. The way I research when I'm doing my hair, when I'm trying to figure out what styles I want, is completely different from the way I research when I'm in school. So the way that I research when I'm looking for my hairstyles, what hair do I need? If I don't know how to do a certain style, I'm on YouTube. Who can show me the best video and the best, lighting and the best placement, so I can understand what the heck is going on. Or I'm on Pinterest and I'm looking at different hairstyles for me something to rely on when I go and do my hair, taking inspiration from it. It's the same thing that I did with crochet and learning how to stuff. I ended up finding the solution on Pinterest and it showed me that the best way to do the stuffing was to, instead of putting a big piece in the amigurumi, is better to break apart the polyfill and then put it in the amigurumi. I took that and I held on to that because I didn't know if it was gonna work for me or not, but I hadn't tried it before, so I was willing to do so, which leads me to the other transferable skill, which is not, well, now that I think about it, the action of it necessarily isn't a skill. The thing is, I was separating hair for my hairstyles. So certain hairstyles, you need multiple strands of hair. And you can do this either two ways, which I don't know, maybe the critical analysis of thinking might be a skill in there, but we digress. You can do it two ways. You can separate the hair as you're braiding the hair, which I think takes longer. And I hate. I think it's very time consuming. I already said that, but I absolutely hate it.
You are driving me nuts.
Or you can separate a whole bunch of strands at a time and then just replenish as you need as you go along. That's the same way with polyfill, because at first I was, all right, let me just take one piece, put it in the stuff and take another piece, put it in the stuff and take one piece, put it in the stuff and take another piece, put it in the stuff and and I was like, no babes, that's not great. This is time consuming. You're gonna be over it and then you're not gonna want to do amigurumi ever again. And knowing that at myself, I was like, all right, well, what's another way we can do this then? And it was just like a little light bulb moment. So then I went ahead and started separating the polyfill and then packing it. Separating the polyfill a bunch. I started separating a bunch of the polyfill into pieces and then replenishing them as I needed. So it's not the actual act of separating isn't a skill, but it's knowledge. It's learned that you can apply to something else, which essentially is what a transferable skill is. Knowledge that you can apply to something else that fits. If you know how to communicate, then you can communicate over here with something else. If you know how to problem solve, then you can problem solve over here with something else. So same thing. Finally, the last skill that I consider that I took from learning how to do my hair and applying it to crochet is being patient. and being present. Listen, I have a head full of hair. It doesn't look like it because my hair sits on top of each other and it lays, and so it compresses like music in a sense, a compressor. Anyway, so a lot of times it does not look like I have a head full of hair. And I have very fine hair. So not only do I have thick, a lot of hair, there's no scalp anywhere. They're fine hair. So it's a whole bunch of fine hairs. It's crazy. It takes at least 6 hours to do my hair, if not 10 and above, depending on the style, depending on how many breaks I take, depending on how tired I am, if I'm actually being present. So it takes a long time to do my hair, especially if I'm doing braids. And patience was a thing that had to be taught because I did not have it naturally. I want to be in the chair and I want to be out the chair in the minimal amount of time possible. If I'm not present while I'm doing my hair, I make more mistakes, which therefore makes it more time consuming because I have to undo my mistakes and then redo the braids all over again, which is the same in crochet. Doing an amigurumi takes, I hope I said that right, takes a lot less time than crocheting clothes, but it's still time consuming. When you're crocheting clothing, unless it's like a really specific or intricate design, you're more than likely repeating the rows over and over and over again, which is really not the case in amigurumi. There might be a section, and okay, hold on. With the clothes, I mean like you're repeating the rows over and over again for the whole entire piece of clothing. But for amigurumi, that's not really the case because there might be a section where you're repeating the same rows, but a lot of the time it is changes in the instructions and how the row is going to be built for each row. So if you're not patient with that, if you just want to rush through it, then a lot of things can happen. You miss stitches, you knot your yarn, the yarn keeps slipping from your hand, your tension is too loose, your tension is too tight. So a lot of things that can go when you're not being patient. So it's better to just sink in the process and just understand it's going to be a process and chill. Another thing, being present is so important when crocheting. You have no idea how many times I've been working on a row, start crocheting, I know my instructions, I'm counting my stitches and I'm counting my rows at the same time. For example, it could be row 7 and I want to make sure I know I'm on row 7. So in my head, I'm saying 7, 7, 7, 7, 7. I'm saying 7 first, right? In front of everything I say. Then as I'm counting stitches, I'm going 7, 1 single crochet, 7, double crochet, 7, increase, 7, 1. So I'm having 7, but also the instructions of the stitches while I'm going so I know what I'm doing and to make sure that my stitches are lining up by the time I end the round. If that'll make sense if you do crochet. It'll just sound like gibberish if you don't. But my point is that when I'm not present, I'll be doing that and then I'll go think about something completely random at that. It makes no sense. It's not like, oh, I'm hungry. It's just let's just daydream. What are we doing for 3 seconds? And then I come back, I'm like, oh, I'm crocheting. Oh, freak, where am I? And so I have 2 options. I can either try and guess where I'm at in the pattern and keep going, which usually ends up in me frogging it all the way back to the beginning of the round, or I can just go ahead and go back to the beginning of the round. So still, in that sense, if I'm not being present, I'm making more mistakes, and therefore it's more time consuming, which therefore is testing my patience, quite frankly. The 3 skills that I mentioned is what I learned how to do when I was learning how to do my hair and was able to transfer, and how I'm learning to do crochet. Now there is another skill that I want to mention, but it wasn't from me learning from a different activity, I should say. It was from me learning crochet. So I've also started learning how to do my own patterns, make my own patterns, which is a different beast in itself.
Bring on the next challenge.
We love that. Challenges are great. But again, here I had no idea what I'm doing. It's like a lot of the times I have no idea what I'm doing. It's almost like that should be normal when you're learning something new. But my brain won't let me accept that. It's like, you should know it now. Okay, back to the point at hand. So because I've been participating and engaging with a whole lot of different patterns that has a whole lot of different shapes, it's like I subconsciously, unconsciously, well, no, I was conscious. So I was conscious. I subconsciously learned how to create shapes because I was making them so many times. So when it came to doing my own patterns, I would literally see the pattern that I was referring to in my head before I wanted to make the pattern that I just decided I wanted to create. So like if I wanted to make a bulbous part for the amigurumi I was making, I would see the pattern that I learned how to do that in, or that had a similar shape, and then I would remember the stitches and how the stitches were placed to get that similar kind of shape. It wasn't the exact same thing, and I never looked up the pattern, which, you know, would have been a good thing. But I like I said, I like challenges are great, so I wanted to see if I could do it from scratch, and I did. However, with me learning how to do that, I think that it is less of a transferable skill between applications of creativity because it's in the same arena. But I think in the truest sense, it's still a transferable skill because I learned how to do something and I applied that to doing something else. I wasn't making patterns when I was learning patterns, but by learning patterns that helped me make my own patterns. Is the magic of transferable skills being able to have skills that you can transfer to something else? No. Absolutely not. That's the great thing about them, that you can take this skill, you can apply them everywhere else, and it's like it's abundance. It's expandance. Oh my gosh. It's not expanding. It's expansive.
You sure you're okay?
It's expansive. That's the great thing about transferable skills. But the magic of them is the fact that when you learn them, you don't know if, when, or how you're going to use it in a different situation. When I was learning how to do my hair, I didn't even know about crochet. I wasn't even interested in crochet. Anything dealing with yarn and needles, all I knew was needlework and knitting. I was tired of needlework. I did that when I was 10, and I tried to find it again and I couldn't find it, and I said good riddance to you. And then I knew about knitting, and I'm sorry that there is a stigma, but I am not an old lady, and I know there's not just old ladies that knit, but that's all I got from it. And I was like, absolutely not. I already have old lady syndrome. I stay in the house 24/7. I cannot add another layer. No offense. So when I started learning how to do my hair, I didn't know it was going to help me learn how to do crochet 6, 7, 8 years later. And I think that's the magic of them, because it means that whatever you're learning is never a waste of time. It's a nice surprise. I want to be clear when we're talking about creativity, because when it comes to job switching and career shifts, it is more obvious what your transferable skills are. And when it comes to creativity, there are also some skills that are more obvious, like I mentioned earlier, problem solving and critical thinking. But there are other skills in this arena that are not as obvious. And I don't know, I just think that that's a beautiful concept, that you can learn something 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, maybe never touch it again until the time that you touch it, and then it helps you learn something else or create something else or apply something else, build something else, whatever, what have you. And that right there, folks, is the magic of transferable skills. It's important to me that everybody knows that they can be a creative. Creativity is not limited to the selected few, to the gifted artists. Now, I do believe that there are people who are born creatives, like myself, where it's normal for us. Like, I can't switch off my creativity. It's something that I'm involved with every day, whether it's the little things or I'm working on big projects. That doesn't mean that you can't be creative. Tap into your creativity and see where it leads you.